So I just watched Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs, and as expected, it was fantastic. Fun fact, if you ignore the spelling of the title, this film sounds like I Love Dogs. And considering how much thought goes into Wes Anderson's films, I wouldn't be surprised if that were intentional. Pretty much every film he's made in the past 10 years has been amazing. Now, this is Wes Anderson's second stop-motion animated film, with the first being Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I honestly can't decide which one of these I like more. It's almost strange comparing them because they both have very different goals and very different tones. Like, sure, Isle of Dogs, just like any other Wes Anderson film, has plenty of playful quirks and good humor found throughout, but it was also surprisingly serious, especially when being compared to Fantastic Mr. Fox. Fantastic Mr. Fox could easily be considered a family film, even if it isn't specifically geared towards children, but Isle of Dogs is just flat out not a kids movie. If the PG-13 rating doesn't give it away already, you'll realize quickly into the film that this is not really a kids movie, and that actually makes it pretty fucking special. The movie is never intentionally explicit for shock value, but it doesn't dampen itself out of fear for being inaccessible to younger audiences. When this film teases an aspect like death, it's something that you believe can actually happen in the film. The film as a whole remains playful at heart, but there are some very morbid and dramatic elements at play here. The dialogue is very fun and well written, the casting works very well for each of the characters, and above all else, the presentation is just masterful. It's abundantly clear that Wes Anderson is a filmmaker that never stops trying to improve himself. The lighting, the character design, the scenery, and the animation itself is noticeably improved from Fantastic Mr. Fox. There is just so much love and care that goes into the presentation of this film. There is a wealth of detailed and complicated sets and backgrounds that often only wind up being used for a single shot. And this winds up helping create the illusion that the world is much bigger than what we see on screen. I don't know if I can even think of a stop-motion animated film that had more impressive sceneries than this one. Each movement of the camera and every character is just so perfectly planned out, and that sushi making sequence is just so impressive and fun to watch. The film's score fits very well and added a lot of energy to the film without feeling overbearing. It's very difficult to think of anything about this movie that wasn't done exceptionally well. There was one detail in the beginning that I thought was a bit of a plot hole that they actually cleared up later in the film. I guess my only real criticism is just a bit of a personal preference. Much of the film was spoken in Japanese and didn't have subtitles, and during those scenes where they weren't being translated by English-speaking characters, there was never any point where you couldn't get the gist of what was going on, but with the sheer quantity of untranslated Japanese words, I kind of wish that there were subtitles. You know, obviously it's a film that I love, and I guess I would just love to experience every bit of it that I can. Whenever those scenes took place, I wound up wondering if perhaps there was some sort of clever or funny joke taking place that I'm not able to understand. I don't know, hopefully there's some sort of extra option on the Blu-ray or something. The film's story as a whole was a little simplistic, I guess. It wasn't really all that special or out there, but the reason why it doesn't really hurt the film is because of how everything is presented. I find myself caring much less about the specific sequence of events and more about how those sequence of events are presented, and as I've already explained, the presentation is well above and beyond the vast majority of films out there. It is unfortunate that there are some people that are unable to appreciate film as an art form rather than a political mouthpiece, I guess, but for everybody that values the art of filmmaking, this is the movie for you. And I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10.